Well, hello, good morning, good evening, and every other time in between. We're going to be hopping right into this one. We're going to be continuing just basically what we were doing. But I will say, we're now reaching the point where, here in the Roman Empire, the resurgence is still underway. Hopefully we will have the rest of the Iberian Peninsula completely reincorporated into the Empire. We have a lot of our territory nice and well off. Have another Abbasid resurgence starting up. Don't know how crazy or bad that's going to be. And it looks like the Turkish Empire has collapsed temporarily of the Gasavids. But we need to keep an eye on it because the Seljuks should be spanning in really soon. So the world yet again looks towards Constantinople in our timeline as a shining example of civilization. We do have threats still within the Arabian Peninsula, but for most, as far as we're concerned, for the most part, the threat of Islam is mostly gone to the Empire, though there's still a pretty strong holding developing in the steppe, which could be a bit of a threat. But we're more concerned with taking out the last bits of the Great Schism and bringing back those who declared themselves as self-appointed Romans and bringing them back into the glory that is Orthodoxy and the proper way of worship. How you doing, Arcane? Our dynasty has presided over a time of resurgence for the Empire, with the last remnants of the old Western Roman Empire about to be completely reincorporated, since for some reason it didn't want to do that when we recreated the Empire, and Iberia is in the process of just being reabsorbed completely. Have multiple realms in our control. Title history. So we created the title with our current emperor, Constantine VIII, the Glorious. But since we've been in control to the exception of Emperor Theodosius, which managed to just gain control of the empire himself and then he promptly died, we have reigned with multiple Constantines, starting from the 6th, which was the... Basically, Constantine the 6th was... He's either the one that conquered the most, or outright basically set everything in motion. Because he did reclaim the entirety of the Eastern Roman Empire. We had Constantine the 7th. He mostly was just stabilizing the reincorporation of the eastern provinces, though he did wipe out the last of the old ruling dynasty that was in control of the Western Roman Empire, since the Western Roman Empire in our timeline did return. It became resurgent. And then we have Valentinius, the Bloodfather, which gave us our amazing current perks that we happen to have. Finally giving up to Constantine VIII, which has been mostly just concerned with getting the eternal situation within the empire well established and under control. Italy has completely been returned to proper Roman culture. And he's just been primarily building up the education of the empire, which we're almost done with the innovations of this era. not much more is actually left. So let's hop right in here and just continue on. Hey, with more gold coming back to us, that works. Now, the last episode that we went and did, we did have Canute spawn in. So he's on his way to form the North Sea Empire. So he's first here conquering England. He'll then move on to conquering Denmark and Norway. So it's gonna be pretty interesting what happens. We've lost our marshal. Just want to put our loyal vassals, which is pretty much everybody, because surprisingly, most of our dynasty has very much been liked without much of an issue. So how are you doing today, Arcane? How cool are they gonna actually give out lands? He actually accepts, so let's take out this problem before it becomes a problem. There we go. Hello, hello, welcome in everybody. We also have a new dynasty legacy to unlock. So we're going to take the last trait that we really want when it comes to blood, because we're already having our good traits very well reinforced. So we could just keep going with it. Actually, right here, short reign. We want to make sure our dynasty is a lot more further entrenched. So having a little less of an impact. Basically, not having that short reign be much of an issue is pretty nice. Now, I will say, when we're done with this campaign, on Twitch we won't see Crusader Kings for a little while. Though on YouTube we will see Crusader Kings show up for the made for YouTube content, as I'm going to put a little bit more work into it as we will slowly go through Hoping to have like a narration and stuff, but we'll see actually how that happens. And we got ourselves a new innovation, so 5 more years and we'll be done with this one. Then we just need basically stuff that gives us armored horsemen, which we don't really need because we're reliant on our cataphracts. Defensive measures. Wealth accumulation. As I've said multiple times, once you get a hold of Constantinople and the Empire itself, this is probably one of the richest regions that you could really have a hold of outside of India. And the Empress has died, so we're coming to the end of this character. Ooh. Ck3 is pretty fun. It can be addicting sometimes. Noble guest. It's like, do we want to mess with the Magyars and their internal politics? So early on in the series, by the way, we had the Holy Roman Empire actually spawn in just from having one country. And that's basically how they changed how the Holy Roman Empire can spawn in one of the more recent updates. Basically for when the flavor pack came out, they changed how the Roman Empire, how the, I can't talk, how the Holy Roman Empire can spawn. So now you don't need just German lands, you can have the lands of Francia and turn it into the Holy Roman Empire. Basically making it easier for it to spawn in, but for my mon being in the age of Charlemagne, I'm going to have to change how that actually works. Because otherwise it's just going to spawn in really easily. Without a lot of effort. Yeah, I'm not married. Woot. Constantine, the Prince of Fashion, is into hurting himself, so yeah, that's not going to be good for imperial stabilization. Let's see what we have. I'm not bothering with the Imperial Court because the whole Royal Court DLC just is pretty well useless. Norman. And the French culture hasn't actually spawned in, because the Franks never actually met the requirements to form the French. interestingly enough. I choose the starfish. West Slavia is definitely interesting. Definitely interesting to see what's going on with it. I'm still very impressed that the Avars have come around. See, I am not helping with an offensive war. Though this one's actually interesting because it will include Baghdad. Which is basically the heart of the Islamic world right now. If the Abbasids actually fully become well, hey, you know how it is there, Hypergig. You always choose the starfish. North Sea Empire. Canute is always sort of fun to watch spawn because he is gonna basically cause some issues for basically the entire region up here. Just building up our lands, sitting back, relaxing. Our territory's starting to look nice. People doing naughty stuff. I really need to find a mod that just like turns down the adultery because you just get bombarded with, especially whenever you get to like a large empire like this. On average, it's like either people trying to kill you or people committing adultery. Or people gaining claims on your empire. Or your son's trying to kill you. Or the peasants are complaining that you're leaving people in the forest to die. Or, you know, they're complaining that they don't have food. Well, he did give out some territory, at least. So it's a little better of a situation. Yeah, who needs food? Get our construction time a little better under control. We're at 93 on development, so we're almost at 100 for Constantinople. Once we hit 100, we're pretty well at max. Though I'm hoping that we actually get a proper chance to start using Crusader Wars, because we haven't been using Crusader Wars for pretty much everything past the Eastern Roman Empire. We've just had such a crushing advantage. I mean, even our closest rival right now, the Holy Roman Empire, isn't even a fraction of our strength. Of course, the Mongol migrations did fail, so we'll still see most likely Genghis Khan. Just it won't be this overwhelming Mongolian advance. And then there's Zedesu. Mostly just waiting for the next historic empire spawn to try to F us over. More worried about the Seljuks, because the Seljuks, they're scary. Especially if we don't get into a situation where we don't, like, actually try to defend our primary ally. Which, keep in mind that this state right here, even though it hasn't really corrected from the naming thing, but the Kingdom of Armenia is purely a buffer state just to keep anything that develops over here without basically being an issue before they come into our lands. Because at the time, it really did look like the Persian Empire was just going to reform. And that would have kept them from directly marching into Anatolia. And by the way, yeah, if the Persian Empire does actually spawn in, yes, they will have almost equal manpower to us. Because the Persians have some interesting bonuses. And it should cause the Eternal Enemy event to spawn in again. Can we invade? Yes, we can. Let's grab the Duchy of Lyon. see where. Roughly how many soldiers we have over here. About 5,000, so not horrendous by any means. I won a battle. And I won a battle with Crusader Wars. Wow, they're just beating them down. Come on, get in there. Really? Well, that sucks. Wow. Just wow. Just wow. Grant you a vassal. Just waiting for you to send me this stuff. This part wouldn't still be a solved though, because we're just having a giant giant dancing fest. We're just steamrolling over their entire bit. I wish I could check their crown authority, but I can't even. But we're pretty good and set up here. province of Hispania is almost fully reestablished. A decision purely based off of the Augustus trait, that's interesting. Orthodoxy is spreading out quite nicely. As we see our primary base for orthodoxies within the empire, and then it's spreading up here. Oh yes, we can have finally our grand wedding. Right here in Constantinople. Constantine the 10th. Let's get our largest states reestablished. Well, that's interesting. Francia and the Holy Roman Empire have split off from one another. Let's see. 22 years and Italy will be reincorporated fully into the empire. Let's see. We have no court physician. We've got ourselves a proper scholar. Yeah, that was going to turn into a disaster. Come on, we want the Prince of Fashion. If he doesn't, like, hurt himself to death. So all of our primary buildings and all of that sort of stuff has finally been dealt with. So we basically have everything and we're ready to go into the High Medieval era, which we'll be actually getting ready to do very shortly. We're at 95. I find it funny that the Hagia Sophia is depicted as like in the middle of the city and off to the side, even though it's actually more like the palace section would be down here and the Hajj would be like where the city actually is depicted. So there's a fun little thing for everybody. And the Abbasids are starting to really show off that they're still a threat, that's for sure. Just like the Gasavids are. Canute the Great is being smacked around by a small child. Yeah, Francia has respawned in. The Holy Roman Empire split in half. We could launch a hammer campaign and just hit all of these duchies really fast. Especially since they had an AI try to spawn in an empire, so it's like kingdom, so it's really messed this whole area up. Now comes the fun part, because we're starting to get to the point where we're starting to really recreate the Roman Empire at its height, and the provinces, like the duchies over here, don't actually line up where the old border of the empire used to be. Like, it does still pretty well over here. Like, you would have these two, and then this county right here. Like, you would have just this little space that's right here. Because it followed the Danube River. Then up here into Austria. And then across, basically down here. It's just whenever you get over here, it turns into a bit of a situation. Because at one point, it would go across this way and then come back up to get to, like, the proper Rhine River. Well, the deeper section of the Rhine River. Just conquer all of Europe. Push to the Euro Mountains. Where I walk is Rome. Augustus dislikes a great many things. But since Arcane actually mentioned it, and I was going to go and mention it, Augustus had the idea of having the borders basically be around the rivers, which was then later, I think it was Hadrian in particularly, who pulled back the offenses of Trajan and basically brought it to the more defensible borders that we traditionally know. Watching our grandson get married, look at that. The fun mess that is the kingdoms that weren't supposed to actually last over here, that ended up lasting. So I'll go ahead and tell you. So during the age of Charlemagne, whenever you have Charlemagne in control of Upper Francia, and you have Carloman in control of Lower Francia. Now you can have both of them solidify, which is what happened in our timeline, so the two kingdoms ended up staying around. But whenever they do that, they're still supposed to have Saxony as part of Upper Francia, so Saxony ended up staying around. Which is part of the reason why we ended up having... Give me a minute. Had to sneeze. Part of the reason why whenever this spawned over here and they had a hold of Saxony, they were able to form the Holy Roman Empire. But historically, what would happen is if Charlemagne would have successfully grabbed a hold of that, it would have removed the solidification of the of Upper and Lower Francia. And you would have the choice of forming it into one kingdom, which would just be the Kingdom of Francia, which would just hold all of this de facto territory. And it would just become its own, you know, big-ass kingdom. Let's see, we have another foreign trait. Close family. Like us a little bit more. Or, with the Empire of Francia being fully formed to Charlemagne's, which Charlemagne's Holy Roman Empire would have spawned in, grabbing a hold of, you know, basically this whole area. Francia itself would have divided between West Francia, East Francia, and Middle Francia. Basically reflecting the division of Francia of how it would have been during the Do-Nothing Kings and their whole little era during the 800s. And East Francia, just like how it would in the base game, it had the ability to become the Kingdom of Germany. West Francia had the ability to eventually settle into becoming France. And Middle Francia had the ability to just slowly die. Basically, East Francia would then divide into the kingdoms of Italy, basically northern Italy and Lotharingia, and along with the kingdoms of Burgundy. So basically, my mod is intended to make Western Europe kind of change a lot until we get to roughly around the time frame of basically when Crusader Kings normally takes place. Of course, if you're playing in the area and you want to keep like Upper Francia, like you have the decision, like what happened here, you have the decision to solidify the two Francias. Whole bunch of little sub things you can do. Look at him living to be 74. This is what Bloodfather does. Makes everybody live longer, have better traits. Let's see. '96, we're getting there. Won't be too long. Let's see. Holdings. Castle Baileys. Yeah, that's right, make my dynasty more famous. Pay your offerings. We side with the church. When we hit late medieval, we'll be able to start getting the really large super metropolises. Basically, the larger cities than what we currently have. And we'll start seeing new ones pop up, too. I do like City of Wonders, but I have to say, sometimes whenever they update it, it turns into a bit of a nightmare. Let's see, let's give you a trade port since you're not actually building out. Ah, there's a jihad going on. The Abbasids are really the closest to actually reclaiming both empires, basically the Arabian and the Persian. And the Cuman Kipchaks have completely fallen apart. Yeah, you'll love the dungeon. I hear the dungeon's a very fun place. Yeah, we'll hire you. Man, if Francia tears itself apart after all of this, definitely be interesting. Man, we're getting close to seeing the 1066 units, and this is when the Imperial roster really establishes. So, if you remember whenever we originally started this, I said that we're using my own maps for Crusader Wars, and I have to say, the very first map really kind of shows that the Empire's going through a transition. You're still fighting a little more on a traditional footing. Kind of the old Roman ways. Here in the 900s, it definitely shows off the resurgence of the 900s, basically the Macedonian revival that was going on. So you have all that going down. In what will become basically the rest of the game, it really establishes that, one, the Empire was still a force to be reckoned with. It had a very powerful, very organized army, but it was also on the back foot, and it was very defensive focused. I can't allow this. They already won that, so it looks like he was able to actually take care of it himself. Now we have a new side branch. And he's still not giving out titles for some reason. Why do you own sections that you shouldn't? What do we have there? We got a new follower. I definitely need to set up something so I can actually read that a little better. It's tiny on the phone. Definitely want to revoke this title. Original Ck3, but with my own mod. And speaking of Fallen Eagle, we do have one of the people who work on Fallen Eagle in the chat, if Arcane is still with us. I will grant you the duchy. And back to the Roman Senate. You go. We want to have one last major campaign advancement with this emperor. Let's take a look at what major duchy we want to recapture. What territory do we want to reincorporate into the empire? This one looks good. We're old. Probably getting senile, but he'll lead his troops out one more time. Let's head right for their armies. Now we have absolutely crushed each time their armies even raise up. And we're probably going to do it again. Just absolutely destroy them before we even get a chance to load in. Yep, we're becoming mean. Mean at this point. Now let's raise up the levies. Along with our Holy Order, which will be with them. Yeah, but we've been going on since the age of Charlemagne, so it's not as impressive. But we have been getting away with some things that regularly I wouldn't think we would be. Let's see, how many years are we? So we're almost 260 years in. We've just had a lot of fortunate circumstances. And I was totally not breaking treaties like no tomorrow. Yeah, I've played in Persia before. I've pretty much played everywhere. My favorite area is over here in Scandinavia and in the steppe. I like Europe as well. I've liked how they changed the clans around. It makes basically being Islamic feel a lot better. Yeah, the new DLC definitely makes everything feel a lot better when it comes to just in the Middle East in general. Oh god, the Patriarch. Not again. And we'll bring you into the Provincia. Give out your land, for the love of God. It's like the same thing with the Roman Senate over here. Give out your land. Like, I can understand why the Republic isn't giving out its territory. It can survive. It can actually get away with doing it, but Hispania over here needs to pull itself together and actually give out its lands. At least they're still paying homage to us and not trying to murder us. Did we claim a new? Oh yeah, we did. Language, we don't care about the language. Not really a fan of either one of those mods. They're just not my flavor. Yeah, you can have back kids. Give me more money. Let's get all this upgraded. And a child of our dynasty from the Carling. Even though the Carlings aren't in power anymore. Still a nice dynasty to have connections to. I mostly play my own mod, which is the Age of Charlemagne, which I'm hoping that I'll be able to release it relatively soon. Just have to wait for my coder to actually get off vacation. How dare he have a life outside of my needs. And the biggest mod that I always will play is Crusader Wars. And that's simply because Crusader Wars brings all the battles into Attila. Basically into the Total War engine, and it's a lot of fun. Brings a lot more meaning into the fighting, unless you're in a situation where I am, where you're basically just wally stomping everybody. Yeah, Arcane's one of the main people. So you got questions he can answer. And he doesn't bite much. Yeah, I tend to. There's a whole bunch of events and things that go to it. I know there's a couple other mods that put, like, the Age of Charlemagne. But this just adds a whole bunch of flavor for that time frame, for, like, the very early. And then going into, like, the regular CK. Mostly around Francia, but you also have the migration of the Mongols actually into the Mongolian steppe, becoming the dominant Mongol culture area. The collapse of the Tibetan Empire. The Persian interregnum is going to be a lot longer. Not yet. And besides that, the only other mods that I actually use just are purely visual. Because I'm pretty satisfied with the base stuff that you get in Crusader Kings. Yeah, there's a few things that annoy me, but it works. Like this one here, we've been mostly going pretty fast, but whenever we actually sit down and do like a playthrough where it's a lot more roleplay focus, which is what I plan to do whenever I do my Made for YouTube, we tend to get a lot more into the little nitty-gritty of an area. The actual historical facts, all of that sort of fun stuff. And the Abbasids over here, yet again, looking like they're going to come back, but I wonder if they're just going to collapse again. I think this is like the 5th time the Abbasids have looked like they're just going to come back. Oh, I also use the Historic Invasion mod. I keep forgetting about the Historic Invasions. Simply because that changes a whole region and messes with it. I've done world domination, like I've conquered the entire map, etc. And you could do it really fast too if you're doing something like the Mongols. Oh, be gone, you evil spirit. The Mongols is actually the quickest way to do it, because just the Mongol invasion and just hitting the kingdoms, you could just do it over, and especially if you just want to ignore treaties, you could just do it over and over and over. Just make sure you have enough to keep the war going. Is this one of our dynasty? No, it's not. It's just a rich dynasty. Let's see. Oh, the Patriarch's court's looking good. Yeah, I like the... Personally, I prefer to do, like, roleplay. Especially when I'm doing it by myself, just sit there and get into the thoughts and processes of how a person would be thinking. Which is what we have fully intended to do here, but it's just turned into a perfect storm of, yeah, we're reclaiming everything. Anglo-Saxon Catholic uprising. I just don't want to. Are you gonna die anytime soon, there, Constantine? We want the Prince of freaking Fashion, come on. Got another daughter. I forget how he got that nickname, but it's funny. Our dynasty is at least nice and well entrenched, and boom. Here we are, finally. Everything's done with early medieval. Now we'll be moving into high medieval shortly. How many hours do I have into this? I know I have a lot, and I mean like a lot. Because I've been playing since the game first came out. I'd have to actually look, but let's just put it this way. I could probably play this game blindfolded with the back of my hand. Basically being the only thing I'm allowed to touch the keyboard with, and probably still be highly successful. Like, I've done everything from, like, one county challenges all the way up to, like, giant... Oh, control an empire just from a single county or something like that. I'm not allowed to go beyond the Duke rank or something like that. Like, when we do the Made for YouTube, it's going to actually have a bunch of rules established for it, so it'll make it more interesting. Ugh, I'm starting to lose my voice, that's nice. Adjust, but his wife just looks like she's not having any of it from him. That is a face of a woman who is extremely content with her situation. Oh look, somebody's trying to murder us the map. At this point, I would welcome just being stabbed. For the love of God, he's 80 years old. Die already. "12 more years and Italy will be reincorporated simply because I made a teeny tiny mistake when we reformed the Roman Empire." Day one, as soon as it came out. I started playing Crusader Kings. See, I've played this series since the original Crusader Kings, so... I've played a lot of Crusader Kings. I've played a lot of Paradox games. I might actually sit back and do like a proper mega campaign. Especially since the saves for Victoria 3, going into Victoria 3 are now available. Oh, look at that, we could take Architect, oh my. What else should we finish? Let's just go into lifestyle, because why not? Let's just try to get our dynasty more famous. Oh Oh my, Zedisu's collapsed. What shall we ever do? I like that India at one point was looking like it was going to completely unify. Now it's just right back to being gobbledygook. Like, I'm used to this whole little area here being gobbledygook for a while. But Persia, I'm actually really surprised that this whole region just hasn't re-solidified yet. I'm also surprised that the Seljuks haven't, like, properly started their historic invasion campaigns. Knock on wood. Have we avoided the apocalypse? I've had India unify once, and I mean once, without me actually being there. And it wasn't because the Mongols invaded it either. No, I think the craziest thing that I've ever had is Africa unite by the AI. Purchase a truce. Where are you? Place I don't care about. Yeah, in that game, Nubia over here basically went and conquered this entire region, then marched across this way, and then it pushed out all of the North African areas. And I was just sitting there playing one of the Merchant Republic mods at the time, sitting there as Venice, just watching the horror creep across Africa. Yeah, part of the reason why India doesn't completely unify is the different faiths and subsects of faiths. And then the culture is all usually a big thing of gobbledygook as it changes, flips around. But if any faction is going to turn around and actually conquer all of the area, what are you doing? Now you can go do your thing. But any faction that's usually going to do it, it's going to be somewhere from down here in the south, because the Deccan Empire is the strongest of all the tags. It has the best mines in the territory. Actually, the best mines in the game are right here. Or right up here. They're all very nice. Like this whole duchy right here is a very nice little area. You become super, super rich. Anybody who wants to play, and especially a first-time play in India, it's one of the places I recommend. Because then you can easily... One, it's one of the easiest titles to form, because you can form this little kingdom here. You can get access to the entire river system by grabbing a hold of this duchy here. And then you can move down and capture Sri Lanka, which gives you another massive boost of mines. And these are basically all the richest mines in all of India and all of Ck3. You have a hold of all three of them, and then boom, you are much richer than what we are right now. So you've got that one there. That one there. And you got this one right here. Especially if you hold all of them directly under your control. Of course, then you also have a few other mines that are up here in the north. But it all tends to be pretty nice. Of course, we have two mines directly under our control, but they don't produce as much. And then you have the rich mining area of Arilica. Oh well, that didn't last long. That's surprising. Yeah, Viking India is always fun to form. My personal favorite mod to play, and I would have actually been playing it all this time, but we don't have the units for it in Crusader Wars, and I quite adore Crusader Wars even more. But it's the basically the one that adds the Far East, because then you have China and all of that to mess with. But if you're not playing with Crusader Wars, definitely add the Far East expansion mods, simply because it adds so much flavor to China and the rest of the region. And if you like playing as the Mongols, you can basically try to work your way around the Great Wall, because it's a physical thing that's there. And being in China and trying to form your own Chinese dynasty with the constant looming threat of the Mongols makes it quite interesting. Have we hit 100% development yet? I'm not paying the royal court a visit. Yes, we have. So now we're going to part 2 of our... So we have our Roman culture. That's nice, leave me alone. So we have our Roman culture primarily here, and it has spread out a little bit, but now we want to unify the imperial culture across the entire region, which we're going to do that. Now that Constantinople is at 100% development, it's just going to bleed across, and we're going to start seeing the development stretch from Constantinople like it already is and going across. Now we might establish it somewhere else, but I just want to mostly stretch out our culture. And I'm hoping that whenever we stretch out our culture all the way, the problems with the kingdom ranks not giving out their territory should fix itself. Well, if you did look at the roadmap for what's planned, there is a map expansion that they want to do. And we have another Constantine. Yay, Constantine the 11th. Yeah, let's not name him that. Emperor Valens. Let's go with another cursed imperial name. Let's make him a general. I'm gonna send him to the universe. For those who aren't too familiar with later portions of Roman history, Emperor Valens is the one who loses at Adrianople, which is where the Visigoths cross in, not the Visigoths, but basically the Goths in their entirety come across and defeat the Eastern Roman Empire because the Western Roman Empire's legions turned around, thinking it wasn't much of an issue. And Emperor Valens was like, oh my, look at this, we could just crush this rabble, and they marched into a situation where they were heavily outnumbered. And he didn't know that they were heavily outnumbered until the Goths actually came pouring out of their camp like a very angry beehive. Oh, we got another new follower. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yeah, so we have another cursed name, but I am going to keep with the tradition until we're like actually ready to finish the campaign itself. We won't have a Constantine the 11th because there was a stigma within the later portion of the Roman Empire that if there was an 11th Constantine, that would be the time that the city would fall. Now, I don't know if the stigma actually showed up until after the actual fall of Constantinople or if it was something that showed up before, but it was definitely something that was around during the time of Constantine the 11th. And for anybody who is wondering why I'm not referring to the Byzantine Empire as, the Byzantine Empire and, not the Roman Empire, it's because the Byzantine Empire was the Roman Empire. It's the surviving eastern provinces. It continued on the same traditions and policies. It just slowly turned Greek, and what we consider the Grekification of the empire didn't technically even start with the quote Byzantine. It was something that was starting clear back with Augustus, so yeah. It's still not really. Yeah, the language turned Greek, but it was still very much a Roman mindset in society. The only reason why we could sit there and consider that is simply because of the Holy Roman Empire. Like, if you really go and look into it, a lot of it happens to come from Holy Roman court priests after the empire fell. During the time of the empire, it was referred to the Empire of the Romans. They referred to themselves as Romans. They were referred to in the West as the Empire of the Romans, though as an insult they would be referred to as the Empire of the Greeks. That was a good way to also get yourself stabbed in the Empire. Like, one of the things that happened before the Fourth Crusade is the entire western sector of the city of Constantinople was burnt because of a minor insult. And the term Byzantine actually comes from how the people of Constantinople referred to themselves, because they were Byzantines, because the old city itself was Byzantine. Nope, they were very, very much Roman. You would talk to them, it would be a very Roman society in its mindset. They have venerated all of the old Roman emperors, the old Roman tradition. Remember, Justinian solidified the old Roman code, and it was under Heraclius that you started seeing the things being transferred over to Greek. That's primarily because Latin was starting to decline, being that the provinces that survived were primarily in the old Greek provinces. Yeah. The term Byzantine comes from the Holy Roman Empire. I forget his name. It's something Wolf. Basically kind of coined off the terms, and then it sort of went less and less and less common to refer to it as the Eastern Roman Empire. And the only reason why we even distinguish them as the Eastern Roman Empire and don't say, the Roman Empire, that's just a more kind of cut down on the confusion. That, oh, hey, it's the Roman Empire. It's like, it's the surviving Eastern Roman Empire, though it would have still been the Roman Empire. Because even whenever the Roman Empire was split into Eastern and Western Roman Empire, they never referred to themselves as the Empire of the Western Romans, the Empire of the Eastern Romans. They were just the Empire of the Romans under the division of what court? happen to be controlled, but hold absolutely no misconceptions. Even when the empire was divided between the East and the West, the most senior of the two emperors was always the emperor in Constantinople. It's how come after the Western Roman Empire collapsed, for a short amount of time you could better say that it wasn't really a collapse, it was more of a collection of barbarian kingdoms that was still loosely considering itself as the Roman Empire. And it mostly fell apart due to Justinian's reconquest, because he was like, you know, I don't like you guys. I don't like barbarians being in my kingdom, being within my empire. Are you gonna, like, form the empire title? Are we actually gonna see a Persian empire form from the Abbasids? Are you gonna turn into something absolutely terrifying? Are you gonna die anytime soon there, Constantine the Eighth? Yeah, because for some reason they're not just coming over here and absorbing what's left of Iberia, not Iberia, but the Arabian Peninsula. Yeah, we've had a very long-lived dynasty. Like, each one of them have lived kind of fairly old. It's just Constantine the Eighth has definitely lived the oldest by far. Definitely need some knights. Can we declare another war? Yes, we can. Might as well finish off the rest of that kingdom. Screw it. He's in his 80s. We're letting him. There's actually no maxed age. They will... They're not going to live indefinitely unless you happen to do the, I think it's the Alchemist quest line. Whenever you randomly get it. It was introduced in Royal Court. It's the one that it's like, oh, you can wave gold or something like that. It's the Alchemist line. You probably know the one I'm talking about. But there is a 1% chance that you can become immortal from that. And then you're just basically the God Emperor from 40k. Just like how in Europa you have a very, very tiny chance whenever you go and find Florida of finding the Fountain of Youth. Yep, it's the only way that you can legitimately become immortal, is from that quest. Oh, no, I'm not. There we go, smack him again. That's too bad we didn't actually capture him. But it won't be too long. It's only a few days. We have such an overwhelming force. Keep giving me famous stuff. Yeah, there's little tiny stuff like that in Paradox where you can have like things happen and a whole bunch of stuff. Alrighty. Stream isn't gonna go on for much longer anyways. There we are. See you later. We've just been crushing the opposition. I like that the Carlings are back in power, ruling England. It's funny. Ck3 can get so crazy sometimes. I swear we have the super long-lived emperor. Well, hello. We have the sword. What's this thing look like? Have our bracelet there. Use the hook. We will revoke that title. And also just destroy that title. Also take the opportunity to, you know, give out these lands since they're not doing it. Why aren't you... And that's completely irrelevant, because that's a section of the mod that isn't ready to go yet. Let's see, I want to gift you this artifact. The excellent sword. Fine warhammer. Just gonna give him a few things. These court events need to just leave. Build this out a little bit more. there. Build that up. Pretty much good with that. And the Abbasids are just running around, becoming Persia. Maybe they'll succeed this time. Doesn't look like we have to bail out the Roman Senate again. Sorry about that. I'm still not going to do it. And this is where I'm going to call it for today. We're almost getting up to the final days of the High Middle Ages. Going to be in the... Well, we're in the early medieval, so we're almost into the High Middle Ages. We're starting to change the culture into proper Roman culture across the entire empire now. Not just in our old core regions. We have everything we need there. And we will see you all later, you alligators. Bye-bye now.